What is up, my good people? It is your boy Spongerelli with my big dog LaFaro in the building.
What's
We
going
are
on?
back at you. We are back at you with a week 8 edition. We are like 8 weeks into this damn season, man. It's
It's
crazy to
crazy.
look.
It's nuts. It's
We
flying
passed that.
by.
I know that's it. Always happens, man. It always happens. We talk about it where we dig. We can't wait for it to get here, and then the
Mm-hmm.
weeks
Mm-hmm.
the weeks will literally just clip by where you're like, damn, we're already midway. We're already like hit the halfway point. Hit the point where you're like, it's down to brass tacks on if your team's going to
Mm-hmm.
make a run for the conference, where these teams are going to line up to get that playoff spot, all that stuff. But we had
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
big week last week with some games, and like I said, we'll give. Hey, hit the bell, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the share button, holler at all my peoples, all our subscribers, all our watchers. We appreciate
Yeah.
y'all.
Yeah.
You
Thank
know,
thank you for everyone showing the love. D
on the
Frank.
journey,
Little
Yeah,
D Frank, thanks for
little bro.
listening.
Yeah, David said he enjoys listening to us break it down each
Yeah.
week on
Yeah.
who's doing what and who's going to go where and all that good stuff. But we appreciate everybody who sticks with us and
Mm-hmm.
listens in, tunes in, and all that good stuff. So we appreciate y'all. But yeah, we had like I said, we had a good games last week, and we'll jump into our big three before we get on the national landscape of what happened last week. So obviously we'll kick it off with my boys finally getting the
The
road
mighty. Hey.
dub on the road, getting a big
Hey.
win.
Did
Offense
they
showed up.
I was wondering if they did the Jason Giambi and wear like a golden thong to get off the schneid on
I don't know
the
what they
road
did.
Blues. They did something.
It
I
was
don't
that
know
extra
what they
sleep.
did.
It was that extra sleep. I told you. That's all they needed. So,
That's what they needed.
yeah,
They
I
put
don't.
the sleep
I, I
pods on the plane.
I guess so, but it's one of those games where going in, we talked about
Yeah.
how can the Gators get this offense going without having to run the ball, without having to lean on the run. Can Graham Mertz complete passes? We saw his completion percentage up through the roof throughout the whole first half of the season. A lot of short yardage stuff, a lot of check down stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we started to see him open it up a bit. Maybe at Kentucky, they were obviously down in that one early, but you started seeing maybe where they were taking some of those shots, they just weren't hitting. Then you saw a little bit more against Vandy, and then obviously you saw this week was his best game as a Gator, one of the best games in his career. Like
Yeah.
hitting, he threw
Some
for
good
a ton.
numbers.
Yeah, he threw for a ton. So I think it's a combination of these three things. I think Billy and the offense is kind of maybe opening up a bit. I think Graham Mertz is getting a little bit more comfortable. I think Graham Mertz is taking a little bit more chances. And then I think obviously you're playing a bad defense. I think that recipe
That,
sets up
yeah.
like
It is a really, really bad defense.
for
Really bad defense.
for as good as Rattler is and South Carolina's offense, their defense has definitely let them down this year in a big way. Because yeah, South Carolina's a 2-win team, and I heard people saying, "Oh, look at the Gator fans; they're all hyped because they beat a 2-win South Carolina team." Great, that's fine. South
Well,
Carolina is probably better than their record would indicate, but defensively is where they're definitely snags to hold
not
them up right
but
now.
Sponge, I mean, think about it. Like the last 5-10 years, they've kind of been a thorn in the side of the Gators, like both ways, where
Yeah,
you go into that game, you're like, there's no way South Carolina going to win. There's no way Florida should lose to South Carolina. And even if the Gators have won that game, it's been a tough game where you're just like,
right.
hey man, how in the world y'all let South Carolina kind of hang in there with you
Yeah,
in a sense? I think about the Jarvis Moss blocked field goal from years ago.
yeah,
That should have been a game where you got steamrolled them. I mean, I know
yeah.
that was
It was,
probably 15 years ago, 10,
That was
15
that
years
was
ago.
during that was during the Natty run. Yeah, we had a few where it was tight, and then there was a
Mm-hmm.
few of those years where we absolutely obliterated them. And then
Yeah.
there is those games where hell, I remember back in the day when Spurrier was there, we would go to Columbia and win like
Yep.
24-20, and you're like,
Yeah.
why are
Yeah.
we now?
Struggling.
There's been games
It's
where
a
we've
tough
obviously
place to
blown them
play.
out. Yeah, Willie B gets fired up. I mean, it was Cocktober, so the Cox thought they were feeling good from last year. Rattler had been playing
Yeah,
good. It's just their schedule kind of set up to where they were kind of chasing their tail each week. They would
for
they
sure.
lost that week one against North Carolina. Then they came back and won. Then they had to play Georgia. So every time they would get a win, they get a loss. And they
Mm-hmm.
had a little tough road early in the year, even though Rattler has been playing pretty good.
Yeah.
It was one of those things of, what do the Gators got to do, to get a road win, which we've struggled mightily,
Yeah.
obviously, in the Billy Napier and even going back into that Mullins last year, you know.
But what's nuts? But if you would have told me you guys had, what was it? You guys didn't have a lot of rushing yards, like maybe
We finished with 71.
Well, I took out the negative yards from Mertz
Yeah.
and Neely. So 120 yards between three players, between ETN Johnson and then I think it was Khalil Jackson had that.
No, they actually put it, which was kind of a nice new wrinkle. They put Eugene Wilson in the backfield.
Or Eugene Wilson. Sorry,
you know, but they actually handed it to him, and then they kind of had him motioning out and doing like different stuff. So I was like, all right, here we go. This is new.
But if you only saw that number,
right?
Two things you're thinking, like, man, Mertz either had to have a big game or we got blown out. If you just saw the number, I mean, going into that game, because I'm sure the strong point of the offense is the run game, but for Mertz to have a big game like he did, it has to be uplifting as a Gator fan to be like, all right, we're passing the ball now. I mean, it helped having Ricky Pearsall is huge.
No, he's been big. He's been real big.
Dude,
like he's
fourth
reliable.
And 10, that catch he had on the 4th and 10 on the game winning drive.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, like I think it's a combination of also, you know, you got guys getting more experience, right? Like we see what Trey Wilson can do in this offense.
Yeah,
you know, they were trying to get him heavily involved in that Tennessee game early, and you could see the difference in burst that he has when he gets it. You know, so him getting hurt and being out for those 2 games there after, you know, not playing against Kentucky, that hurt. Your tight end, you know, is coming on a little bit. Boardingham, you know, I've been on him, you know, because I feel like he should be a guy to really rely on. He's been coming up big.
Speaking of 4th and 10, that catch.
That's what I'm saying.
That catch and then the move for the big guy to at least.
That's what I'm saying. On a 4th and 10, 4th 11, you throw a 1-yard route,
right?
He gets 12. You know, I'm like, come on, man. But I mean, hey, they converted it.
They converted it. They converted it.
I think all that, you know, comboed with like all I heard all last year and all from all the insiders down there in Gainesville was how good Khalil Jackson really is. Like, you know, he runs really good routes and he's got sticky hands. I mean, that catch he had on that corner route was ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, so you're like, if
the catch, the horizontal catch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I honestly, I know people will crazy. That was a tougher catch than the Ricky Pearsall catch.
Right.
Where he got blasted a couple weeks.
Yeah.
That was like the highlight.
He's like literally laying down, you know, catching on his back.
I mean, we're not talking about a 5-10 yard catch either. That was like what 30-40 yards down the field.
Yeah. This is what showed me. I was talking to my buddy this morning, Gator Dave, Gators Breakdown, shout out. We were talking about how both of us said, as we were watching that, you know, I'm like, okay, look, Mertz is rolling right. And then you're like, look, Eugene Wilson's right there in front of you. You got Eugene Wilson right here. What are you doing? Get it to my man here. You know, that would have been like the check down throw, the short throw, let Eugene get up and go. But he's looking for business downfield. So you gotta like that because you've been calling for that. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm looking for. I'm like, you know, Mertz might not have the strongest arm. You know, he might not have the rocket arm, but he's been very consistent, obviously. You know, and that's what we all wanted. And so now it's like, okay, you're feeling comfortable. Let's take some of these shots. You know, like I said, what was it? Kentucky, he probably took 6 or 7 shots downfield, and
they played in the box. Kentucky played it in the box.
Yeah, he just missed them, and then he hit like one of them. So I'm like, okay, get your average up on that. You take 7 or 8 hit shots. If you can get it to 50%, that's a big number. You might hit an 80-yard touchdown over the top.
Yeah.
You know, it just loosens up that defense to allow your run game then to become a focus point in the offense where you can be a little bit balanced so that teams' defenses are on their heels. They don't, you know, but it's still, put it this way, it's just one game. You know how we do it, you know, overreaction.
Yeah.
But
it's encouraging.
It's a good building block to say.
Here's the thing from my point of view. It's like when you're looking at it, you know where your season's going. You know what to expect probably the rest of the way, kind of, sort of. But for the future, you're like, all right, I like what I'm seeing. It's like as the season progresses, you want to see the improvement of and we're starting to see the improvement, like you say, with the younger wide receivers and Mertz taking shots. That doesn't mean they're going to win the rest of the games, but they might not. They might not win out. They might lose the rest of the games.
Yeah.
But you feel good knowing like, all right, he's not scared like we thought he was to take that shot down the field. And like I said, it helps that you have a great receiver in Ricky Pearsall that's a great possession receiver that he's stretching the field himself. Whereas if you had that guy that could stretch the field like a Burke or Jackson, or
Right.
one of those guys where you could use Pearsall to be a possession type guy,
Right.
but
Right.
he has to be that guy going down the field, and
Yeah.
he's proved it. Like, hey, if you put it up, I'm gonna go get it.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's been rock solid. He's been your best
Mhm.
guy. He's your most consistent guy. He's been explosive, all that stuff. So I flipping gears here, and if I was going to put a negative point on it, I'm more concerned with the defense, and
Carolina was
Grant
able to run the ball.
dude, Carolina moved it up and down the field. I mean,
Yeah.
their running back did have a good day. Like he had like 98 yards on 20 carries, was averaging 5 a clip. But Spencer he was highly consistent too. I mean, he missed like 7 attempts. He was 20th, 23 of 30. I mean, it was
what's nuts is as I'm watching the game, I'm sitting here like, man, imagine if they had think about this. Not trying to jump on Carolina or anything. I know we're talking about the Gators, but if they had a Juice Wells, if they had a Marshawn Lloyd, if they had a Jaheim Bell, like you think about all the guys, they're big time guys that transferred out or are injured, and you're like, man, this offense would be high powered for because Legette's pretty good.
Legette's real good.
There were several times where on the flip side of taking shots down the field, I was just like, Spencer, what are you doing? Why are you they got bailed out on the one where they call a pass interference where they extended the drive. I think it was the drive before you guys got the ball back to take the lead.
Yeah.
I think it was when I think they only got 3 out. I can't remember exactly when, but there were a couple shots where I was just like, dude, what are you guys are up, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, what's crazy is, Trace Mack, he boomed that one kick, man, for 54. It would have been good from 60.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here watching that game, Saturday, and I'm just like, dude, this is the kick we really need to get these points here. I was like, he's not going to make this one. Something's bad's going to happen, gets blocked. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Carolina goes down. And so I'm literally sitting there with 5 minutes to go, and I'm like, we played a damn good game today.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I really feel confident that we are going to score twice and stop them once in between that? And I said, no way.
There's no way.
Now, granted, we scored, and then
but you still had to stop them.
I think Beamer went a little conservative, and the defense made the timely stop, and we got it back. And then, then you can have some magic happen, and that's basically what happens.
That's what happens.
A lot of times in college football, we say it all the time. It's better to be lucky than good. You got to have some luck on your side. You got to have some balls that bounce your way.
So
and they kind of got those breaks Saturday.
So the thing I know at some point we're going to talk about is situational football, and when should you be aggressive? When should you be conservative? And 2 losses this weekend. One coach went conservative in Beamer.
Great point.
And then the other coach in Dan Lanning went aggressive.
Yep.
And like, what's the happy medium of
right? No, yeah. I definitely will dive into that when we get to that Oregon game, because I want to talk about this particular thing. So yeah, we'll definitely touch on that too. But yeah, all in all, wrapping up the Gators portion of this is, obviously winning on the road. Check the box. All right, good, great.
Yep.
Now you get a week off before you play, the big boys in Duval. Obviously a big deal. Bowers is out, whatever. Like, take this week off, get some guys healed up, because I know Etienne's got a shoulder bang up, which is tough. Your linebackers are a little bit banged up. Nobody's like really majorly hurt, but it's just a lot of bangs.
This
bangs
is
and bruises.
Self scout, get healthy, throw some wrinkles in for. I mean, this game it's going to kind of. Hopefully, you want it to be like the OU Texas game, like our true rivalry game, where you throw everything out the window.
Right.
You throw everything out the window,
you ain't
regardless
got
of how you play.
You got nothing to lose. So
you throw the kitchen sink at them.
Yeah, we'll dive into Florida, Georgia, obviously next week. But like. Great win for my boys. I'm glad they got the road win. 5-2 looks a whole lot better than 4-3.
So since they have a bye week this week, I'll just hop into this real quick. Hopefully it won't take too long. So how do you feel about Billy still calling plays and being the OC? Do you still think that transition needs to happen? Or
oh yeah, definitely. And I've already heard some inside rumors of some guys are talking about, but I'll tell you that off air.
Okay.
Yeah, but no,
spill the beans yet.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spill the beans yet because I don't want it to be wrong on it. But no, basically,
hold on before you get to it. Are there names you like in that pot?
There actually is.
Oh, so there's one.
There is one.
Okay, we'll talk about that off air. We'll talk about that.
There is one. But like I say, Billy, he's got to be the guy now. So
Yeah.
I've always liked Billy's run game coordinator,
Yes.
play calls and his scheme and all that stuff. So I even heard actually that they've started letting, I heard Billy G was calling some plays this past week.
Okay.
So that I know he's actually letting some of the coordinators get more involved in some of the. He's still making the final call,
Yeah.
but some guys are getting more influence on the offense.
Well, I think that's when you throw tendencies off, because
Right.
everyone knows everyone's tendencies at this point.
Right, exactly. So some new wrinkles, like I say, putting Trey Wilson at running back. They also I like the wrinkle where they're putting Montrell as your like lead block, like he's almost like a fullback. They're going two sets with like ETN. I like that look. I like how they did a play where they motion out. They got Montrell split out kind of in the slot, kind of like an H back or your third slot in like a trip set or whatever, and they'll throw a swing pass, and Montrell's like your lead blocker on the outside. So those little things,
Put your
comboed
best
with
players on the field, man.
yeah, exactly.
That's just,
I agree. It's
who cares if you have two good running backs? Put them both on the field. Let them play. That just makes the defense be like, all right, which guy's getting the ball? Where are we going to go? But like sometimes coaches are just hell bent on, I can't put Montrell and ETN, just those two as an example, on the field at the same time. It's like, screw that. Just put them out there and let them play.
I agree. Yeah, Far, I hate to do it to you, my brother, but we got to talk about them Canes. In a tough one against the Tar Heels Saturday night. Like I looked at this game as what do we know? What is North Carolina? How can they? How does Drake May look against a good defense and like what you guys bring? And I thought Drake May was terrific. He was a beast. Ches Walker in that offense.
It was a tale of two halves.
Yeah. Van Dyke just, the turnovers killed you. And then you said going in, you guys wanted to, you needed to establish the ground game. I mean, you really didn't get that going too much. And on the flip side, I thought Hampton was like, I knew he was a good back. He had a hell of a game too on the ground. So like they were able to.
It was second half. It wasn't the first half of the game. The defense they were getting to May and they were hitting him. And I like that. They were being aggressive. They were taking their shots at him. The offense, like you say, the first half, we had a fumble at the one. Henry Parrish, you can't fumble the ball. It was a weird one because when he's going in to try to reach it, it's not like the Carolina player did anything. He hit the ball on his knee and it popped out.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can't have that. And you can't have the turnovers. You can't have the coach. So at that point, it would have been 7-0 Miami. Carolina gets the ball, and it's 7-0 UNC. And then the Canes storm back. We go up 14-7. And then there's a crucial, I won't say crucial because it was still early. It was like I think there was like a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4. And we're about to hold them. We do hold them, actually. We do hold them. And then Guidry's losing his mind on the sideline and gets a unsportsmanlike because he's trying to call a timeout to make some adjustments. We give them the automatic first down, and then they score and make it 14-14. And then we're able to make some plays. And then another play that was big was Keontre Smith. We're flipping the field on him.
Oh, yeah.
Keontre Smith is running on the field, gets a dumb personal foul because one of the UNC players is talking trash to one of the defensive guys or whatever. Ruben Bain. I think he was talking trash to Ruben Bain.
I thought that was pretty nit too, man.
ACC officials are terrible.
It was.
I'll get into that in a minute. But so we're back on the field again. So we're just giving them opportunity after opportunity. A lot of this game was self-inflicted. I mean, Tyler had a fumble, 2 picks, the Guidry unsportsmanlike to continue a drive, the fumble at the goal line. I mean, you just add all those things up, especially the defense is playing lights out in the first half. We get to the half, 17-14. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty good. Like, all right, it's 17-14 going into the second half. And then that third quarter just happens and the bottom fell out. Yeah. I texted you guys, meltdown. It was 21-0 for the third. I mean, the positive out of it is the boys didn't quit.
No, they didn't.
As Miami fans, we're tired of saying that.
It could have got worse.
Chip Lindsey did a hell of a job in the second half making the OC for Carolina. He made some adjustments and he took what we were doing in the first half of being aggressive, once again, the secondary trying to jump routes and all of that, and he put Tez Walker in some great situations to where he was one-on-one, And when the safeties weren't jumping,
Yeah, a
they're running.
couple of bad angles on
Yep.
that one touchdown.
Yeah.
I
That
don't know
dagger
what
route.
he kind of went like faded left when he needed to go more up the field on him,
Yeah.
because Drake threw it like right over the top on him.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing that was wild was too, talking about Miami's mistakes was the amount of penalties that North Carolina had. I was like, these
14.
14 for like
14.
100 plus, and I'm
But,
like,
but the other thing is all the turnovers we had, Carolina didn't score off the
yeah,
turnovers.
yeah. Well, like I say, it was more so. I think a lot of those penalties were when Carolina had some big runs,
Mm-hmm.
that like
Mm-hmm.
holdings or procedural stuff. Like I said, you know, some of those big runs that limited, Hampton going off. I mean, he still almost had 200 on the ground. Like I said, he was a beast out there.
Yeah. Like you said,
And
most of his yards were in the second half, and that
they
one
definitely
big
were.
run he had.
They definitely were. He was basically shredding them and later in that game, more so too, because, they were able to open it up
I
with
think the
Tez
defense
Walker.
was gassed. The
Yeah, that
defense
too.
gassed.
Yeah. I mean, Drake May, his completion percentage, all that wasn't outstanding. And he didn't throw for
No.
over 300, but he threw for 4 touchdowns. And like I say,
Yeah.
six of the catches that Tez had 3 of them were touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
The Van Dyke threw it all over the yard like he's been doing all year. It's just, the two mistakes and the picks, the fumble at the goal line. Definitely, when you're going in, that's 7 points, man. That's 7
and
points.
then in the third quarter, the bad snap from Matt Lee, Tyler gets a hand on it, but it falls in front of him, and it's like he's kind of lethargic. It's like weird. He's athletic, but at times he's not athletic.
Yeah.
Couldn't get on the ball. So with that drive, we were kind of moving the ball. That happened at midfield. Even if we're able to get 3 out of it, you might be able to keep the defense off the field for a couple more plays, get in Borgalis's range, get a 3, and just get something going. And that third quarter was just a culmination of just a bunch of things just happening, and you're just like, come on, boys. Like, let's just get through it. But, it's just how should I say it? It is encouraging what I've been seeing so far this season.
Right.
And it was funny because on Twitter, Miami fans they're like, fire Mario. And I'm like, you do realize it's year 2 under Mario. If you can't see the difference between last year and this year, you're just trying not to look at it.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And then on top of that, if you get 80 to 90% of your starters back and no one hits the portal, everyone's back next season. I hate to talk about next season in the middle of this season.
No, I mean,
but there's so many positives going into it. The outcome wasn't what we wanted. We're around where I thought we would be.
Yeah. Obviously you should have won the Georgia Tech game. You should be one loss.
Should be 5-1.
Yeah. Which, okay, fine. But yeah, totally.
But we're 4-2. We are what we are.
Right. I like the way. Yeah. Now here's the real gut check. Now you blow that one against Georgia Tech. Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
You go play a top 10 team in North Carolina. In my opinion, I think they're top 10. You go toe to toe with them. You end up, things don't go your way. You turn the ball over. You make some mistakes. Carolina does what they do.
You still see the positives.
You can see where, if you don't make those mistakes or whatever, it
could be a different game. We probably still lose, but it's closer.
And it's all about optics, how it looks. So now, again, what I'm saying is going forward, you got some big opportunities to say, okay, you know what? We get to play at Clemson this week. We still get to play our in-state rival, Florida State. So what do you do after having these 2 losses? How do you get off the mat and, say, hey, let's do it. Let's go.
I got a couple suggestions. Getting the running backs and tight ends more involved. How are we called tight end and our tight ends only have 5 catches for the season?
Yeah.
Like, I think at this point, just looking at the offense, obviously we both like X. X is a good receiver, Restrepo.
Yep.
I like Kobe Young. We need to get him more on short routes, and we just can't. He's taking deep shot after deep shot and not using them in other ways. It's either a screen with him or a deep shot. And I like George. I like our 3 receivers.
Yeah.
But I like at the end of the game where I say they didn't give up. They got Brashard Smith on the field.
Yeah, no, Brashard was actually Brashard Smith. It was nice
in the country in return yards.
Yeah, it was nice seeing him, catch some balls for
that
sure.
Catch he had.
That was a nice throw and catch for sure. That was on the money.
His momentum's going one way, the ball's going another way, and he just plucks it out of the air. Yeah, so there are positives, but I just think we need to get the tight ends. We're not utilizing the middle of the field unless it's 15 plus,
Right.
15 yards and plus. Like where the tight ends would eat, where the running backs would eat. Like one of the things I love what Florida State's doing, where they getting Toafili and Benson in their the pass game.
Yeah.
I think Miami needs to do that, and I get it. We're trying to set up Tyler, and because he's a pocket guy.
Yeah.
Like Tyler is athletic enough to where he could run and pick up 4 or 5 yards if he needs. But when he's in the pocket, he's like a statue.
Yeah.
He's a statue in the pocket. He's not moving. There were several times where they were like, oh, the tackles got beat. I'm like, they did, but if he steps up, because the tackle's job is if I'm pass blocking and the guy's getting up the field, my job is to ride him around the quarterback. Yeah. And you can tell the guys were trying to ride him around, but when he's doing that, Tyler has to step up and figure out where in the pocket I need to be, because the front three, the center and the guards are doing decent jobs of keeping the 2 defensive tackles at bay. But Tyler has to realize I got to step up in his pocket, step left, step right, and then throw into it. And then there are times where he just makes some passes where he's guessing. I know my guy's going to be there, but he's not sure that linebacker, like the last 2 weeks, that linebacker's sitting there or that corner's sitting there and he can't see him.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I said, I like Tyler as a QB, but he's just got to be better. And sometimes his body language, man, I hate to call him a front runner when the offense is good.
You're the leader, dog. You can't. When you're bad, you still got to be all right. You still got to be the guy.
So it's like you see the body language throughout the game, but then you see the fourth quarter where he's like, I'm still slinging it. I'm still slinging it. I'm taking shots. So it's like encouraging. So you want to say, maybe that's just how this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it comes to, he probably like an AR at Florida. His body language isn't the greatest, but at the same, I know Tyler's like, hey, I got my guy number 7 out there in X. Mm-hmm. I'm going to keep throwing it to him. And I think there are times where he gets locked in a little too hard with Tyler. I mean, with Restrepo.
Yeah.
And the offensive line has to play better to where we could get the backs and the tight ends more involved.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. And our secondary is still aggressive.
Yeah.
And did you see the penalty on James Williams?
Yeah.
On the Tez Walker touchdown? ACC refs are terrible.
Yeah, it like I said, there was some questionable calls definitely in the game. That going back to,
and we only had 7 penalties, and Carolina had 14. And some of the Carolina penalties, I was like, "Come on, man, you really threw the flag on that?"
Yeah, like I say, and sometimes what it boils down to, like situational football is like just bad timing on some calls.
That's Gidry.
That's big. The Smith, personal foul that allowed him to keep going. It's kind of like going back to, Florida, Utah, when you had those dumb double number penalties, like where you're off the field and now you're it's like
you're extending drives for the other team.
The other team might have double the number of penalties, but they just weren't as costly. Those costly penalties, man, at the wrong time, it will kill you, but like I said,
they got to do something better, man. And it's not just because it was this game. And like I say, I'm complaining Miami only had 7. Carolina had 14. But it's just years of just ACC officiating. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
Like how? Like, come on, guys. Like, we know there's holding on every play.
Right.
We know that things happen on every play. But at this point, you're just killing the momentum of either team. And all we want are just good games.
Yeah.
That's all we want, And it's just, I mean, hopefully we can come out. Once again, I'm going to say it. I'm going to sound like you. I think we could beat Clemson.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too ahead of our podcast here.
Yeah, we're going to break that down.
Yeah, QB run game is going to be the key. Like I say, you got kudos to Carolina for making, like I said, they made hella Chiz and Lindsey made some great adjustments in that second half at halftime.
Chiswick and that defense, man, it's pretty it's pretty for real. Like they've been talking about Carolina, not having a good D. Chiswick has definitely come in there and they get after the quarterback. Yeah. They play physical. They got good corners. Like like Carolina's good.
Yeah. And then they have Tez come in.
And their schedule. I love the way their schedule sets up to where, if we get it, we were talking all that 12-0 crap until, Louisville caught that last week. That snake pit.
I didn't think they were going to go.
I didn't think they would run the table either. But Now, realistically, what'll be interesting to see is can Florida State and North Carolina stay in this, collision
Driver's seat.
course to go to, a two
Hey,
12-0s.
what did I text you that night? We are still talking about the ACC,
Yep.
and
There's
we know in that
definitely
conference
right.
there are
Yeah.
dumb losses every year
Yeah, for
that
sure.
just don't make sense. Remember the whole wheel of the ACC they used to run every night on ESPN on Saturday
Yeah.
nights? Like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going to happen tonight?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this team we're about to talk about shouldn't have that problem, in
No,
my
yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, like I say, they handle business against Syracuse, who we knew Syracuse is a terrible team. Again, no big surprise here. Florida State is the better team. They're the better team this year. So they're playing these teams like a Syracuse and Wake Forest and whoever's Virginia Techs and Virginias and all that. And like
They're handling business.
they need to do what they do. So another easily win for the Noles. Jordan Travis had a good day again. Business as usual at the office. They've definitely been able to establish the run. In the last 2 weeks. No, Johnny Wilson was banged up. I thought I heard that last week, and he didn't play, so they held him out. But Keon Coleman and Jaheim Bell,
Hey,
business as usual.
listen,
So
I think I was happy to see a game like this. You never want injury to any player,
right,
but we all wanted to see this Keon Coleman.
yeah,
From that LSU game, we wanted to see how good is this guy, and to have. Well, I think they said this is the first game with 100 receiving, 100 punt return yards since P-Dub.
yeah. He had 149 catches for and a touchdown, receiving wise, and then his return stats on punt return was 6 for 107. I mean, it obviously helped out with the 72-yarder. Yeah,
still though.
Yeah, no, for
So,
sure.
I mean, that's what you want to see.
Yeah, because punt return is not it's not a big thing anymore, and it seems like the special teams are different, so you don't get
The
those
Aussie
big
style of just holding the ball and punting at the last second.
Yeah, you get yes. Obviously, they're going to get good stats when you can rip one off for 70, but definitely having 100 plus in both categories is definitely big. He's like I say, the minute I saw him against LSU, I'm like, this dude's freaking legit. He's a baller. So yeah, to have no Johnny Wilson and say, hey, we can throw it to Keon 9 or 10 times, and then you still got a Jaheim Bell you can throw it to, and then you're finding some other guys who can maybe step up. Like I've always liked the freshman Hakeem Williams. He's had a big catch, 44-yard touchdown, late in the game. But
it was a screenplay, and he shot out of a damn cannon.
And like I say, he was a big recruit get for those guys. That's a South Florida guy.
Hey, everybody
wanted him. Miami wanted him.
Everybody wanted him.
I saw the kid play 7-on-7. I was like, this kid's legit. He's good. So they get guys like that more involved. It's just going to be nothing but trouble for defenses in the ACC for sure. But yeah, Florida State did exactly what I thought they would do. No problem there. Like I say, they got a semi-big game. Like I say, we talked about how their schedule has just set up so perfectly for them. They had tough game here early. They got through that early stretch with the LSU and the Clemson. Then they kind of had, a couple of weeks where they weren't really playing anybody tough. Then we saw Duke was actually pretty good. This looked like it had a potential to be a good game, but it was in Tallahassee. Their quarterback's banged up. Is he going to play? All that stuff. So their schedule has just set up like each week, like bing, bing. It's just been so everything's in line for Florida State. So like I say, we'll talk about
one thing I did like seeing in the blowout was I saw the maturation of Jordan Travis. And when I say that, it was a 3rd and 1 where they split him out and they were in the Wildcat. And after the play, you could just see him like telling the coaches, like, we need this much and you got me out here. And you saw that through the game where he was like, come on, guys, like, you got me. Yeah. You got me on the field and you're not utilizing me.
Right.
And it's good and bad, because the bad could be the coaches are saving him. Not bad, but the coaches are saving him because he has been taking some hits, and that I know that shoulder's tender, and they're just trying to give him opportunities where they're saying, hey, we don't want to use you in these short yardage situations.
Right.
But there were times during the game where you saw Jordan Travis be like, hey, I got my cape on. Let me take over. Say, let me be that guy.
This is the flip side of like how you're saying with TVD, like
exactly
body language of like this means the world to me. Like I want to win. I'm the leader of this team. All that. So yeah, no,
And
actually,
that was, like I said, that was
I like the way
encouraging.
I even like the way Mertz has been a leader for the Gators offense. Like you actually see the intensity on him where it means something.
Fired
He
up.
wants to win. He's ready to go.
He was fired. Yeah, Mertz was fired up after that touchdown at the end.
I mean, take it all the way back to the Utah. He's trying to get those guys like, let's go, but so Jordan Travis, he's played great, and so I want to. We'll get into the Duke breakdown here in a second, but I can't wait to see the matchup of Duke's defense versus offense of Florida State. So
yeah.
Well, before we get into that, we'll discuss some of the big national games that we enjoyed. Like this was the headliner last week, the banger of all bangers from the Pac-12. The Washington Huskies took down the Oregon Ducks. I told you that I thought Oregon was going to win the game, and what I thought was going to happen was I thought their defense was going to be a little bit better, and I thought Nix would play good. But I wouldn't be at all surprised. It was a game where I would not bet on at all because I knew
Take the over.
that Washington playing at home and Penix was going to be good, and it barely hit the over though.
Yeah, barely. Yeah,
but yeah, no, it lived up to its billing though. It was a hell of a ball game.
It was a hell of a game.
Honestly, I'll dive right into it right now just because we talked about it earlier about coaching. We knew that as soon as the game was over, it was like, all right, Dan Lanny's going to get questioned. Like, why are you doing this? Why'd you do that? Why didn't you do that?
But he did it all game.
And he's done it his whole career. So that was the other thing. If nobody's ever watched the Oregon game in his 2 seasons, he is an aggressive, I'm going to go for it, let it all hang out type of coach. And guess what? I love it. It breaks the 10. I know you do.
I know you love it.
Harrow's the more conservative coach, he's gonna, but I love
situational coach.
Yeah, there you go. So I love the aggressive, like it breaks the tendencies of how traditional coaching or what you're supposed to do down. And I think, he even said after the game, in hindsight, when you do look at it and you evaluate yourself as a coach and play caller, if I would have known, if the damn what's going to happen, sure, I might have kicked a field goal before that.
But that wasn't the reason why they lost the game.
No, it definitely wasn't.
I mean, when you think about it, opportunity at the end of the game to tie it.
Exactly. Even after everybody's question, even though after everybody was questioning, the fourth down call to where they didn't get it, they gave Washington the ball at midfield. Yeah, even after that, they still got down the field and had a chance to send it to overtime.
Just missed it.
Exactly. So that's how close. Yeah. That's how close and tight that game was, even with some of those aggressive calls. That's just how the razor's thin edge of mistakes or just not executing.
The only one for me, going back and rewatching it, the one I would criticize was the points before the half.
Yeah, and he said
22-18.
He said that.
I don't mind it. I don't mind the fourth quarter going forward to ice the game.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? He's like, I think his thought process is like, you know what? Washington's on one right now. I don't care if they get it at the 50 or the 10.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can stop these guys.
Well, both of your corners got hurt. Your starting corners are out of the game.
Let's run this play here. And guess what? If we execute this, we are going to win. It's over.
It's over.
So you don't execute the play. Maybe the play call is not great. Maybe fine. But you don't get it. And then what happens? Boom, Penix, big play, downfield, touchdown, next play. So it's like that quick. Yeah. So I like the aggressive play call. But yeah, I'm with you. Maybe in the time before the half, but that's just not his nature. He's like, what? Let's get up on these boys. Here's what I love as a coach. It shows that he's got confidence in his guys. Like my guys we got dogs. We're going to score right here, and then we're going to put a number on them.
But Washington was doing the half. The thing is, Washington was doing the same thing. They went for when the tight end made a hell of a catch to get underneath the ball when he's like horizontal to the ground, and his momentum was going backwards. That was huge. Normally Penix puts it between the numbers, but in that play, he couldn't get it out there.
Like I say, it was a hell of a game, but I wasn't even surprised by it at all. I mean, it couldn't have been any better, because I think Washington's a damn good team. I think they're
both teams.
One of the best.
Exactly. One of those teams may miss out on the.
Well, this was going to be my question that I was going to preface to you. After we've watched that game, let's fast forward here and project. Let's just say these two teams win out and they go play again on a neutral field. Are you still taking Washington, or are you going to take Oregon?
I'm on Washington this year, man.
Okay, see, so
I
I would be,
still,
I still would roll with the Ducks, but
yeah,
so that's what I'm saying. So it's kind of what it reminds me of is a little bit of the OU Texas the week
yeah,
before. You
yeah.
know, you had that hell of a game banger. You know, you're
Mhm.
like, out of nowhere, Texas, everybody's on Texas, and then boom, Oklahoma beats them. So now they look
Well,
like they're on a collision course. So it's like
so like
Texas
you,
correct that and get the win late in the
yeah.
year.
I think going back and talking about being aggressive, like you think about the Oregon 2-point conversion on the first touchdown to Patrick
Right.
Herbert, the
Yep.
what a play. But what
Mm-hmm.
about do you remember the 2-point conversion by Washington? I've never
Yes.
seen that play.
Yeah. That was
A
slick.
screen on the swinging gate almost.
That was slick. It was
That
pretty
was
nice.
interesting. And you see how innovative these guys are these days. And I think the other thing was Washington losing Jalen McMillan and their third receiver, Giles Jackson
Yeah.
from Michigan, stepping up and making some big catches when the Dunze and Jalen Polk weren't, they were getting doubled and
Yeah.
he was one-on-one and he didn't have like a great day, but if you go back and just look at the situational catches he had for big first downs, that was huge for the Washington offense. And I
Yeah.
think
Polk and
Oregon,
Jackson played good.
yeah, and I think Oregon's defense did a great job of just getting to Penix and just hitting him and hitting him
No,
and hitting him.
they were rocking them, and then the
Yeah.
other X factor the reason why I liked Oregon was just like Bucky Irvin is a dude, man, and even Jordan James had some big
Jordan
runs, like
James, yeah.
like
Yeah.
200 yards on the ground. Like
Mhm.
Oregon, had the balance. Bo Nix played really good. Like Bo Nix is a whole new guy.
He
He's
didn't Bo
he's
Nix.
he's been fun to watch out there, man. It's just sometimes
Mhm.
getting in a new environment, a new place.
Well, no pressure of I'm playing out of college where my
Yeah,
dad played and
right.
he was, I mean, you must say he's an Auburn legend
Yeah, plus, yeah, it's just
and
a little bit
playing in
free.
that
You're just a little
shadow.
bit free. You're just a little bit freed up, and
Yeah.
like he's hell. Guess what? He's also been in college football for a long. He's
Yeah.
played a lot of football.
Plus,
So
I would love to play for Dan Lanning.
right, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm a huge now. I've become a huge Dan Lanning fan. Like
Yeah.
he's a young, innovative. He's been around the South
Mhm.
down here. Coming up the ranks with Georgia and Kirby, and
Did you
he was at
see
Bama. So
I was
like,
about to say, did you see the other week, speaking of Pat McAfee behind you, when Saban was on McAfee and they were talking about how does he replenish his coaches since guys leave a lot? And he brought up that Dan Lanning was a GA.
yeah,
And right when he was about to be like the DC or position coach, Kirby swooped in like a day before him
yeah. Well,
and got him. And he was like, that's the one that got away. And that was the only
that's the
guy he
one.
really named.
Yeah, the other guy that Saban was going to go for this year was the Gator D coordinator, Armstrong. Like
Yeah.
Saban wanted him to come on. He didn't want him to be the DC. I think he wanted him to be the linebacker coach, and then he would be a guy who would say, "Okay, you're the linebacker coach. I know when my damn DC leaves me,
We'll
I'll
just elevate you. Yeah.
So the Gators swooped in and said, "You know what? No, you're going to be the defense coordinator." So he's like, "All right, let's go."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, that's what happens. You get these young guys, and
You groom them.
so like it's kind of like I want to see what my boy, I've always liked Glenn Schumann at Georgia. He's now the defensive coordinator. He's always been a good dude, a cool dude, on coming to Jacksonville recruiting guys. And he's always been Kirby's guy, and he
Mm-hmm.
was the linebacker coach for a real long time. And now he got the opportunity. He's been the defensive coordinator. So it'll be interesting to see if like my boy Glenn Schumann gets a head coaching job somewhere soon.
I'm sure he
So,
will. And plus, in that situation, you have Kirby and you got Coach Boom on the sideline helping
yeah,
him out.
that's another stupid thing. Like when you got a guy like Muschamp, I still love Muschamp. When you got a guy like him as one of your coaches, it's like your homeboy, and he's a hell of a coach. So he's been a head coach in this league, and now he's just a coach, and he's getting it done.
But back to UW and Oregon, it was a classic. It was funny. Last week we were talking about how Texas and OU was a classic, instant classic.
Yeah, that's good.
Now
That's
this
good
one's
stuff.
an instant classic. Back to back weeks. Who is it going to be this week?
Yeah,
So
hopefully get another one.
But like we were texting, Oregon and UW pretty much play the same schedule the rest of the way. I think there's like one change, but
who doesn't screw it up, basically.
Yeah.
Because I would say these are the two best teams out of the teams that we've watched so far in the Pac-12. But
you still got to play your rivals.
Anybody can get got.
Anyone
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The way that I mean, anybody can get got in that Pac-12. You don't come to play one day and you think you got it. Like you say, Oregon State, that's civil. That's going to be a damn war.
Apple Cup. It's going to be fun.
Wazoo got their ass whooped.
Hey, Oregon State.
No, they played Arizona.
Dude, I told you, Arizona. We haven't said this on air, but just through our text, Arizona's sneaky good.
Arizona's very sneaky good. Yeah, they got three losses, but like they've also got some really nice wins and they've competed really well. So, but yeah, and we'll flip on over to the other Pac-12 team who was high on our radar, who completely fell off the wagon. It's been trending in a bad direction for the USC Fighting Trojans and our homeboy Cooey. I was shocked at the number. I wasn't shocked that they lost. I mean, hell, they were underdog, according to the line, but it was more so of the style and way they lost. Because if I would have said this to you, Faro, before we talked last week, if I would have said, hey, USC, Notre Dame this weekend, hey, Sam Hartman's only going to throw for 126 yards. And then I said,
like, they lost.
Then I would have said, hey, okay, then estimate. You would have said, okay, well, how many yards did estimate run for? 95. And I would have said, he ran for less than 100. Yeah. You'd be like, well, damn, what was the score? Did USC win by 21? Did they win by 30? I'd be like, no, they lost by 21. They got blazed. And it was the Heisman Trophy winning, nail wearing quarterback that played like dog. And I was stunned at the
remember our conversation last week when we were both talking? It wasn't we picked the game. I think you picked Notre Dame to win, and I picked SC.
I thought SC was going to win. I took SC too.
So
I didn't think they were going to blow them out, but I thought SC's offense would be the difference. I said I thought SC would score enough.
When we had just a little sidebar conversation, and we were talking about if the offense is playing like ass, what would happen? Could the defense step up? Could they run the football? Yep. And we found out this weekend, if Caleb Williams is not on point, what's going to happen to SC?
Yeah, I was thoroughly – I mean, here's the bottom line with it too. It's not the fact that he played like crap. The turnovers, going back to like situational stuff, were like dreadful. I'm talking about just, turnovers for touchdowns in a sense. They weren't pick sixes, but they were literally gift wrapped.
Xavier Watts had a game of a lifetime. 2 picks, a scoop and score, and then the final nail in the coffin of ripping the ball out. I think it was Marshawn Lloyd on the final drive. That's a career game he had.
Yeah. No, it was almost painful to watch.
It really was.
I was listening to one of the national guys, and they made a point of it. They were like, not let's not bash Caleb Williams. He's great, but they were like, we know Notre Dame's defense, and Freeman has built a defense.
Yeah, their defense is good.
Who was the last good defense that Caleb Williams really has to go against besides a Utah? So it's not like we exposed Caleb Williams all of a sudden, but that was he looked confused and he struggled.
Do they play Oregon? I like Oregon's defense.
I mean, I'm talking about since since he won the Heisman, like all of last year and up to this year.
He plays in the Pac-12.
Again, that's what I'm saying. So like the best D they would have probably played, I guess, would have been Utah.
Who did they play in the bowl game?
They lost to Tulane, baby.
Tulane. But they still were able to put up points against Tulane.
They put up big numbers against them, but he even put up big numbers in the Utah losses, Yeah. But it was more so he didn't look comfortable. He didn't look.
They got him off his spot.
Yeah, so not like this is a trend. Not like it's a trend, but this is finally okay. What? So what happened exactly? So what I'm saying is, what happens when he plays against like a UGA or a Bama? Those get defenses.
They better hope they get up quick,
right? So not that they're even going to play those teams because I think they're done and toast, but because there's just too many black eyes right now. The offense struggling now. I think Caleb Williams. I think that might have been a one-off and. Hopefully you're going to play some teams where defenses aren't as good, so you'll get back to scoring some points. Yeah, maybe the defense found itself a little bit, but that was the one thing going into the game why I thought USC would win. I haven't been impressed with Sam Hartman this year. I haven't been like I love Audric Estime, but
I think the problem for Notre Dame is they just don't have those. They don't have speed guys. They don't have. He's been relying on the tight ends a ton, and a lot of teams are loading up the box, and then. They played against good defense. Ohio State's defense is pretty good.
Duke's
Duke's
defense is pretty
defense
good.
is pretty good. I mean, who else did they play? I don't really know much about the Louisville defense,
Yeah.
but
They
they
were
played against,
opportunistic. They turned the ball over on them, like
yeah.
Louisville forced some turnovers.
So I mean, I think with the Hartman, I still like Sam Hartman. I just think they don't have the guys on the outside to stretch the field. And like I say, they couple drives they had this game, they didn't have far to go. And
Yeah.
they were able to
No,
punch it in with Estime.
exactly. So moving on to the last game is the game that probably was what everybody wanted to talk about on Saturday because it happened on Friday night. You know, if you stayed up to watch it, which most people didn't, or most people decided to hit the bed when it was 29-0 at the half, probably woke up Saturday and was like, what the hell happened here?
I think that was most of America on Saturday. Like, what the hell happened?
Yeah. Like I put it this way, I had to work Saturday morning, so I was like, I went to bed when it was 7-0, and I watched Shador go right down the field on him. I was like, yeah, it's gonna be over. You know, I was I thought, Stanford's not good. Their record didn't indicate anything. And you want to talk about, like I said, colossal meltdown of all meltdowns, when you're up 30 points.
There was two this weekend, and that was one of them. We'll talk. We'll shortly go over the second one that we just.
Yeah, I thought, I thought, Dion, he had two questionable, things that he's been doing, which I hate. I hate when you go to overtime, you take the ball first. Like,
yeah,
that is like, that's not traditional at all. I don't care what kind of statistics show that the team who scores first wins. I think it's like 50 to 50.7%. And 9 times out of 10, what happens is the team who got it first, the other team deferred by, so yeah, but
I mean, they were still in it. That was just a bad pass by Shador on that third
for sure.
down.
All I'm saying is you always should want to know what you got to do in overtime.
Yeah.
Not like, we're going to, I've got so much
but
confidence in my boy.
Let's talk about before. Let's talk about before overtime.
Yeah. Well, I thought the second half, how
do you not play inside leverage?
No, I agree. Like, they couldn't cover 13 at all with
And
whoever
better
they
yet,
threw on them.
When I say this, I sent the picture to you guys. I'm not calling the kid Calvin Johnson. He's not in the same stratosphere.
Right.
But at some point, wouldn't you give him the Calvin Johnson treatment and just put two guys over him?
Yeah.
And just say,
we'll see what happens here.
I mean, we'll just play 9 on 10.
Yeah. Double them up. Do something.
And because giving up almost 300 yards receiving to one person.
Yeah.
It's just
that's ego. That's ego as coaching, You're like,
especially when you're up 29-0. And I think, speaking of halftime adjustments, Stanford did a hell of a job at the halftime doing the halftime adjustments on defensively. I'm not even talking about offensively.
Yeah.
Defensively, of saying that we're going to speed your clock up, Shador. We're going to hit you.
Well, what I don't
pressure you from the outside.
This is where the offensive coordinator for Colorado's got to be like, you know what? We're going to run the ball.
I didn't understand it.
They ran it 5 times in the second half.
But that's what
49.
But that's what I was telling you. Like, they don't run the football. Other than the USC game,
that's where
don't run the football.
That's where you got to change we're up 29. Let's change our strategy. Let's take the air out of this game.
How do you have three decent running backs and you're not running the football?
Yeah, you got to in that point, this is where you take the air out of the game. I agree. And then all of a sudden, these guys hit some big plays, and then even all of that, you still get into overtime with them, and you throw a bad ball.
Yeah,
you can't do it.
You're like Shador. Just take the sack. If you're going to throw it, you better make sure it's up in the student section or up on the ramp where it says Colorado. Yeah. Like you just can't just throw it up in the end zone like that and hope one of your skill guys. Yeah, it was that time. The time they lost. Yeah, not saying they would have won or lost, but you at least get 3. And you're like, you're putting the pressure back on Stanford to have to score a touchdown.
Yeah, well, like I say, what's funny too is I was listening to the presser when I got up. I listened to Dion and Shador, and they were asking. I love this after it came out, like the next morning too. They were like, we just talked to your dad, and he's saying that he felt the complacency, he felt the team kind of just feeling themselves.
We got this one in the bag,
and he said he felt that going into halftime and he didn't like it at all. And that was his message to, like, let's not be that. And let's go out there 0-0, even though you're up 30, 29,
Mhm.
you know. And so he's like, what did you take from your dad's halftime message? And he's like, you know what? I to be honest, I don't even remember it. I was too focused and too locked in. And then you find out, hours later, he was posting his merch on IG during halftime.
I don't think he was doing it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know the timestamp and all that,
I think
but it's
people
just
made
like
him.
people are doing that just because they're just trying to
Yeah,
pull straws on any and everything.
it's not an ideal thing to do during a game, but I really, it's like prime example. Once again, Pat McAfee. If you go to his Twitter page, you see posts going on as the show's going on. So you really think Pat, who's talking the whole time, is posting these videos and
Right.
tweets
Yeah.
as it's going on?
Yeah,
So
he's got a
I
team,
would
and
like
obviously
to
we
think,
know Dion Jr. is like the king of social media with
right.
them right now. He runs
We would
everything.
like to think that I'm gonna put a little common sense. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I know.
But
Who
I want
knows?
to say that he had somebody
And
else
them boys are in
posting
there.
that stuff during halftime of the game. So that's what I would like to think.
Yeah.
But just going back to that game, it's like you say, you just got to run the ball. And this has been my biggest thing. You know this for sure. You're up 29-0. Every
Yeah.
time you put the ball in the air, it's another opportunity for the other team to either A, get an interception, B, if it's an incomplete pass, the clock stops. So every time the clock stops, it gives the other team another opportunity to get the ball back with time left. It's
Yeah.
kind of like in the end of that Notre Dame Ohio State game. It's like, I get they stopped you, but why are you throwing a screen pass right here? If it goes incomplete, the clock stops and
Yeah.
you're forcing teams not to use their timeouts. So I just don't understand in the second half why they. I like Sean Lewis as an OC. He's once again young, aggressive,
He
on
dials
and
it
on
up.
and on.
He dials it up.
But you gotta have a better job, and I get it. Their offensive line isn't the greatest, but you gotta say, hey guys, we gotta run the football. We gotta get this clock moving. And it was just an avalanche. I think once that 97-yard touchdown was scored, it was just avalanche after that. It was just. I don't think there was anything else they could do. And like you say, they were too complacent. And it's just hard to get 17, 18, 19-year-olds to understand that game isn't over. That's why we always have to give credit to the Nick Sabans of the world and the Kirbys of the world of, hey, we're winning, but we need to put
to get
the nail in
those.
the coffin.
You got to get those guys motivated every week and all that, and just
especially when you're playing the Stanfords and the Vanderbilts and the Wake Forests of the world.
And so now looking at it, we talked about it, that was a gimme win, we thought. And
not just that. Remember me and you talking about it. They needed that win where the last 6 they could get that one win to get bowl eligible.
Yeah, so that's what I'm getting at. That was their gimme. Yeah. Now I don't see 2 in the next.
I don't see
6.
It's tough.
I mean, it's
tough.
Allegedly, the easiest one would be Arizona.
That ain't going to be easy.
Exactly.
That's not going to be easy. Where's you got it pulled up? Where's that game at?
It's let's see. They play.
Better hope it's not in the desert.
No, that's what I'm saying. I've looked at it. They got it's straight bangers.
Read their last 6.
They got they're off this week because that was the other thing. Dion was like, that was the other thing. He was like, man, he's like, it's good to have a bye week after this week. He's like, no, that after losing a game like that, you want to get back out there and get that off your plate. So they go to UCLA, then they play at home against Oregon State,
tough,
at home against Arizona, then they go on the road.
I don't care if they play that one on the moon, Arizona. That's going to be tough.
Exactly. Then they go on the road to close it out at Wazoo and Pullman and at Utah.
I don't see 2. They're going to need a lot to get 2. I barely see 1.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Can they do it? They could do it if they change some things and get the offense clicking like it was the first 3 games.
You think they played Travis Hunter too much?
Yeah.
I mean, you're coming off a 3-week layoff, and he ran 157 plays.
Right. I think if he didn't miss that time, it wouldn't have been that big. I'm sure people
that's still a lot of damn plays, though. But yeah, no, it's like I say,
to not be in football shape, to lose that football shape for 3 weeks, that's a lot of plays.
Yeah,
because he was getting beat the whole game.
No, he got beat.
He was getting beat the whole game. It wasn't like it was 1 or 2 plays here and there.
I've always thought he's been a way better receiver, in my opinion, than a DB. He's just natural can cover. Just he's got great hips and can turn and
Instincts,
run.
yeah.
But I've always thought he was a tremendous wide receiver.
I just don't see that number going down though.
No, you got
The rest of the year. I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it going down.
But all right, well, let's go ahead and get into this week's preview games. We only got 2 on the docket for our teams because obviously the Gators are on a bye week. So the first game, the Noles got a big one in Tallahassee. You know, my biggest thing is, you know, is Riley Leonard going to go? And,
Yeah.
and I saw Elko today say that they think he's going to play. So
I've been hearing day to day.
Maybe, but again,
I don't think he's playing.
Let's say
even if he plays, even if he does play,
his game is predicated on his mobility and his running.
Now, with that being said, Florida State does struggle with a running quarterback.
Yeah, well, guess
like
what?
most teams do. Most teams do.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I would have loved to have seen a healthy Riley Leonard in this situation to make that.
I still think Florida State wins.
I agree with that too.
Unless they turn the ball over. Yeah, unless they turn the ball over and they're just lethargic and uncharacteristic. I think Florida State is still good enough to beat them by the 14.
Yeah.
Even with Riley Leonard, I think that defense it's going to be a night game at Doak.
Exactly. That's the other thing too. It sets up to where, you know, you get to play a team.
Yeah.
That, you know, and you're building at nighttime. Mm-hmm. It should be a great atmosphere, all that stuff, you know. So, and like I say, Duke, I love their defense. I love what Mike Elko brought to that
He's
team.
He's done a hell of a job. He's not going to be there next year.
No, hell no. He's going to be somewhere else for sure.
Yeah.
My biggest question mark
you want to see, will they give JT fits?
Right.
How do they play?
But on the flip side, what sucks is when your offense is so inefficient, your defense eventually wears down. You know, so
exactly.
That's where I think Florida State takes advantage of that. I would probably take Florida State to cover, and you know, I don't think it's going to be an easy win because it'll be a tougher stretch because Duke's going to get up to they're ranked number 16 in the country. They want to get up and play.
The only way it gets out of hand, in my opinion, is if they just keep giving Florida State a short field. And if Riley Leonard doesn't play and the backups in there, just giving the ball to Florida State and that defense, and they don't have far to go. And eventually, like you say, I don't care how good the Duke defense is. They're not the 85 Bears. They're not the 2000 Ravens. Well, they're not this year's Cleveland Browns. At some point, they're going to break.
Yeah. No, I agreed. And did you see what the backup quarterback did last week against North Carolina State? Did you happen to look in on that one?
Numbers look terrible.
Did you see where they basically won a game 24-3 and they only completed 4 passes?
I did see that. I couldn't remember the numbers, but it wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
That tells me the defense got the short field.
Right. It tells me North Carolina State's pretty bad. But
somehow Miami will probably make that a game in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
We got our 2 after this week, it should be 2 layups, but for some reason we're going to probably struggle against Virginia or NC State or both.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically they completed 4 balls for 100 yards and they scored 24 points and won easily. So I think the simple thing is, I think Florida State, just take care of business, do what you got to do. And like we've said in all these games now, just freaking get out of there with a win. If you win,
I don't care how you get it.
If you win 28-27, take it, you know.
Take it. This year, man, everyone, there's no true dominant team to where we're just like, where you can just put your hat on Georgia the last 3 years or Alabama in the past or Ohio State or Clemson, and you're just like, that's
So I definitely like the Noles. I like the Noles. So, all right, dog, your boys got a big one, back-to-back big ones. You're at home against the Clemson Dabo Sweeney Tigers. What do you say? How you feeling? Where's your temperature at?
Like I say, I'm gonna sound like you. I think we're gonna win.
I think you're gonna win too, buddy.
Can we stop the QB run game? I don't think they have a ton of explosive players. They're not going to see Tez Walker again.
No,
I don't think Clemson has a guy anywhere near.
They don't.
So how do we stop the QB run game in Shipley? Even with was it Massa? I forgot the backups. The other kid, the other running back, he's pretty Maffa.
Right,
he's pretty good too. So we're gonna have to stop the run game, and then on offense, we're just gonna have to make plays and like take advantage of the middle of the field. Like I say, my complaint is, can we get the tight ends and running backs more involved? That's all I want to see. I mean, is Arroyo out for the year? Is he not going to play? Like, I know every week I've been saying Elijah Arroyo. He's a big play weapon at tight end. Hell, let's get Jaleel Skinner. I know he's a
he's a
twig
young guy.
at tight end.
Yeah,
and he
I
probably
wanted
can't
him.
block.
I wanted him.
He's not a blocker. But I don't give a damn. Get him on the field.
Oh yeah, put him as your H back or something.
But I think that's why he hasn't been on the field, is because he's not blocking like McCormick and the Williams, Riley Williams. But no one is like McCormick. He's been in school for 10 years.
Yeah.
He's trying to get a 9th year, so he knows who to block and what to block. But he's not out there. He's not a threat in the pass game. So you could go 2 tight ends with a Skinner or a Arroyo, or even put in Riley Williams as the second tight end and just go 12 personnel and just throw it. We gotta get more guys in the middle of the field. Like I say, we don't have like a big receiver. Kobe Young is our big receiver, but he's not big anymore. He's lost a ton of weight. But we just got to take advantage of Clemson's defense and put Trotter in some really bad situations to where he has to make a decision. Because I'll take our backs and tight ends over Trotter at the middle linebacker spot.
Yeah,
hell of a middle linebacker.
No, but here's my thing. What I look at it is, I still feel like your offense is highly efficient. Your offense is still really good. I think your offense is going to stress. Granted, like we just talked about Trotter and those guys. I think Clemson's defense is pretty good, but I like your offense. I like your offense versus them as the matchup. To be able to move the ball, be able to run the ball. Tyler Van Dyke's going to be able to throw it. Tyler Van Dyke can throw it on any defense. So, it's going to come down to
turn it over.
Yeah, you can't turn the ball over. Where I really look at it is the lethargic, just not so powerful offense that Clemson usually rolls out. Klubnik's been okay, but you go back and look at it in their 2 losses, they obviously turned the ball over that first night against Duke, and that loss they had on the road that night, the first opening weekend. And then they played Charleston Southern and FAU, 2 Ducks. And then they got beat by Florida State when they played really tough. But that was one of those games at Clemson. They're playing Florida State. They get up
7 years in a row. Yeah, it was a lot going on it.
So they banged with them, and then they got 2 easy games that against Syracuse, and they didn't obviously look impressive against Wake Forest. So I'm like, we talk about home field advantage and all that. Okay, Miami doesn't have home field advantage per se, being at Hard Rock. Still still a good, decent crowd. But the big thing is, guess what? You're not at Death Valley. So that's a big deal. Yeah. So you're at home. You might not get that advantage, but guess what? You're not on the road.
Our 25,000 is loud.
Like I say,
with those canopies,
this type of game, they'll be good. They'll be good. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, the better thing is you're not on the road. Is basically
stop taking shots at us. Like I say, our 25,000 gets loud with those canopies.
It covers it up.
It tricks you. It traps it in. There's gonna be a lot of teal seats in there. We know that, but we don't care about that.
Like I said, honestly, I like the Canes here. I think they're gonna play.
If we can pick this one off, like you say, the next 2 weeks against Virginia and NC State, we should be able to win.
They're bad. Yeah.
So if we can get a 3-game winning streak going into Florida State.
Exactly.
But I'm not looking that far.
Yeah, don't look ahead. Don't look ahead.
Bunker mentality. But yeah, we just gotta run the football. We gotta get our running backs more involved in the run game. We gotta get the run game going. I was a little disappointed we couldn't run the ball. But then again, when you go down 21-0 in the third.
When you're down, you got to start throwing it. So that's just how the game goes sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, we both like the Canes, baby. We like the Canes, baby. Let's go.
All
right, dog. The 2 national games we'll touch on, the big ones: Penn State at Ohio State, and then we'll talk about Tennessee, Bama. This one here, the first go round of the Big Ten trio. So who takes round 1? Is it the Buckeyes at home or the Penn State Nittany Lions and James Franklin? This game, I like both of these teams. I told you I like both of them. I like both their defenses, but honestly, this would be a game I would not touch because I couldn't tell you on what I think is going to happen or who I think is going to win. What do you got? I know you don't like either quarterback, so I don't know what you're going to say about this.
I hope
3-0 game or something.
I hope I'm wrong, but I almost rather watch paint dry than this crap.
Really?
I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch.
I know. But here's the thing: we've had, like we just said, we had the big OU Texas game and Oregon Washington. And so this would be the next type of headliner, and he's not even thrilled about it, guys. It's a Big Ten barn burner.
I've watched Penn State a couple times. I watched some of the Penn State Illinois game. And then who else did I watch? Penn State and someone, and I'm just like
Northwestern.
Yeah, didn't they shut out Iowa? I mean, that's not hard to do.
Yeah,
you saw that stat. Oh yeah, you sent me that stat where the
Iowa's not
punter,
scoring any points.
The Missouri punter had more passing yards than the Iowa quarterback.
Yeah, that
was terrible. It was like the Missouri punter had 39 yards and the Iowa quarterback had 37.
Yeah,
I think Ohio State's going to win. I hope
because they're at home. Is that because they're at home?
I just think they're better.
Right.
They're at home. I like their skill guys. Like I say, I'm not sold on the quarterback. I think I think their defense is good. I think the Ohio State defense is pretty good. Drew Aller, I don't know. He's young. Yeah. Will he be good? I think he's going to be good eventually.
I think Drew Aller's going to be good. I do.
I think he's going to be good, but just watching him play, it's just
lean
ugly.
Can he lean on those backs?
Yeah, it's just ugly.
To take. No, it like I say, it's.
Is this a noon game?
Yes, the big noon kickoff.
Oh, so the only excitement I'm going to have is Gus Johnson on the call.
Yeah, so it's like that's the other thing too. It's not like the reason why I guess I'm going to take Ohio State in this one is just because the home game. It's not. Yeah. This goes back to kind of like what I just said about the Miami game. It's not a whiteout game at night. It's at home. They're in Columbus.
Has Penn State played a big game this year? Other than Iowa?
Like you just said, that was probably it. It was probably Iowa where they won 31-0. I mean,
yeah,
they played West Virginia week 1, but that West Virginia's not. Everybody's talking about West Virginia because they were 4-1, but they lost the other day.
2 months ago.
Yeah, it was. So they beat West Virginia and Iowa. Yeah, they shut out Iowa and they haven't really played. So it's like, what do we got from Penn State? To where at least Ohio State, they beat Notre Dame. Obviously, that's a nice win. They've played, Indiana and the Maryland was probably their next best win, and they banged with them, and then they kind of took over and took control later in that game, second half. So I like McCord. I think McCord is steadily coming on, and we definitely love the weapons. Now I know Trayvon Henderson's kind of banged up too for Ohio State.
He's been banged up.
Yeah, so that could be
back.
He's supposed to play. But Marvin Harrison's been pretty damn good lately. But getting a Mecca back is going to be big because we love their receivers. So
I love their receivers.
It's so hard to tell because if Penn State does win this game, I wouldn't be at all surprised too because they are good. So I think it'll be more. I think it'll be more of a statement if Penn State somehow wins the game than
I'd be surprised.
State. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
So you think they're going to? You think that they're covering?
Yeah.
The Buckeyes. All right.
Yeah.
I'm with. Hey, like I say, I got Ohio State too.
Yeah.
But I think Penn State, they might surprise us. Because
if they put up 30, I'll be like, okay, I've been wrong.
30. Look at the over under is 46.
Exactly.
My
point exactly.
I'm thinking this game looks like a 27-24 type of game.
This is like the early Big Ten type. Ugh.
I mean, hey, this is the good part. One of these teams in the top 10 is about to catch an L, and it's going to be
the other big thing. The good thing is there's other noon games.
There probably is, but we talked about it. This week's slate's not the greatest.
I sound like a hater of the Big Ten, but it's just so boring, man.
The Big Ten does suck sometimes,
It's boring, and everyone hypes up. I'm like, who's Michigan played?
Yeah, they ain't played no damn body.
Like, who's Penn State? At least Ohio State can say we beat a good Notre Dame team.
Yeah, they've at least beat Notre Dame and Maryland. Maryland's probably the fourth best team in the league.
Yeah, so Maryland probably could beat Penn State.
Well, I think they play later in the year.
Yeah, so it's like I'm tired of hearing people hype up the Big Ten. I get there's 120 something schools in the NCAA.
Yeah,
Division I football. Stop telling me that Michigan is good and they haven't played anybody. Are they good? Yes, I have them at my number 2.
Right,
inside to my top 10 because they don't play anybody. They're going to beat everybody.
Yeah,
until they
they've been punishing everybody. It's just I hate their schedule. Like it literally is like the last 3 weeks.
Thank God for next year. Have you seen their schedule next year?
I hope they lose all of them.
Yeah, their schedule next year is tough.
I know it.
No more days of playing nobody in the Big Ten until the Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, like it's like again, Michigan, their schedule, man. It literally they play Sparty, who was a god dumpster fire, Purdue,
Mm-hmm.
and then they finally play Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State to close out the year. But it's
So
like,
their
man,
final. So okay, so we'll find out a lot about Michigan in the final
it, it-
3
and
weeks.
this was a point one of the national guys brought up. Is it going to be? Is it good for Penn State to have basically played nobody, and then are they going to get stunned when they play those last 3 games?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're good, but yeah, I think they're going to get like, whoa, these teams are. This is actually a good team we're playing.
Yeah.
So that middle game where you're playing Penn State, and all of a sudden you're like, all right, we got past Penn State, and then all of a sudden you got to play a sneaky Maryland team before Ohio State. That'll be that's going to make it interesting where you
Yeah.
basically played like 9 games and you just basically cakewalk through everything. So
This is the part that's going to suck for me is if somehow there's a 1-loss Big Ten, right? Some way, just say Michigan, Ohio State, they
yeah,
loses, and there's a 2-loss Pac-12 school that we
I
know is better than
Yeah.
one of those schools, and they get left out because one of the Big Ten schools, one goes undefeated and one has 1 loss.
yeah,
And I'm sitting there like, well, at least the Pac-12 had 8 teams in the top 25 at one point, and they've all played each other.
yeah,
And the Pac-12 actually went out on, because like I say, the reason why I like Washington, I'm not saying Boise State's good. We got to still talk about that. And I'm not saying Michigan State's good. We know those 2 teams are not good, but they were on the Washington schedule.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to play, even if you have to play a Vandy or Wake Forest, at least we know you're not playing Central Arkansas
right.
or Troy or teams you know you're going to beat. I'm not saying you don't know you're going to beat Michigan State, but at least it's comparable talent.
Yeah. No,
for the most part.
I got one for you here too. I saw this the other day, and this is obviously we're talking about it midway through, but like the chaos of what could ensue to where it's like, how are you going to pick these 4 teams?
Yeah.
And basically, here's what it's laid out as. They say everybody in the country's got 1 loss. Georgia loses to Bama in the SEC championship game.
Mhm.
Ohio State loses to Penn State. Michigan loses to Ohio State. Penn State loses to Michigan. Then you got the Big Ten controversy with those 3 teams all with 1 loss. Alabama's already got the 1 loss to Texas, but they just beat Georgia, who won the SEC championship. Basically, Texas, again, is your Big 12 champ because they beat Oklahoma in the rematch. So they're both 12-1. Same thing with the Oregon situation. Oregon and Washington run the table, but this time Oregon beats them. Washington gets their first loss with now Oregon being the Pac-12 team with 1 loss. And then, oh, by the way, let's just throw in UNC loses to Clemson late in the year, but they still go to the ACC championship and knock off Florida State. What the hell do you do then, buddy? Like, I don't even know what to say.
So for me, I'm putting Florida State in.
Even though they just lost the ACC championship?
Yeah, because they beat Texas. If you have Texas winning the Big 12,
no,
that's a quality win.
Florida State didn't beat Texas.
Sorry, I messed that up. LSU, you beat a good LSU.
Yeah.
LSU team. You beat a good Clemson team. I still think Clemson's good. They're not great.
Well, if you guys are beating them this week, so that's going to give them their 3rd loss.
They're still good, though.
I know, but that's where it starts. So you start looking at those records.
Yeah, I mean, if Duke, just say when Duke loses this week, right, to Florida State, and they win out, they're still going to be a top 25 team.
Yeah, possibly so. I don't know if Duke will be in the top 25 at the end of the year.
If they lose this week and win out, they're going to be in the top 25.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I say, LSU, like I think they're going to lose. They're going to lose to Bama, and then
they'll win out and still be in the top 25.
What are you talking about, man?
They're going to lose to Bama, and they're still going to be in the top 20.
Hey, look ahead. Hey. Look ahead to Baton Rouge in about 4 weeks. All right, damn it.
All right, is it in Baton Rouge? It's not bad. It's in Gainesville.
Yeah, no, buddy. We're on the road, buddy. We got 1 home game left.
Oh, I can't wait till we talk about that trip.
Yeah, all right, that's fine. Cool. That's cool.
The trip we had back in the day to Baton Rouge.
Yeah, we'll circle the wagons on that one. But yeah.
No,
this is that scenario is going to be
interesting.
Up, man.
But you know, but what helps the Pac-12 schools is 8 of their teams were in the top 25 at one point. So at that point, if they have multiple teams in the top 25, you got to kind of give them And then you go to non-conference. We got to look at non-conference. You got to factor in non-conference schedules.
Like I say, that's a lot for all that to happen anyways, but it's just crazy that like the
yeah.
scenario of the possibility of that. Like,
Yeah.
again, this is what I saw forthcoming, last week or the week before, where I was like, man, I feel like there's going to be that fourth team trying to get in, that fourth, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's all those teams could be like, we should be in that fourth spot.
This puts everything in perspective of this season.
Yeah, it's great. This is a great season.
Before we started this podcast, I sat here with Sponge listening to me narrate Colorado State and Boise State. For the people, if you're this far into the podcast, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Boise State was up on Colorado State 30-10 with less than 6 minutes left in the game. Think about it, 30-10 with less than 6 minutes in the fourth quarter.
That's an old college football. Try this game out.
Yeah.
Remember that scenario?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, here you go. You go, Faro. You're the coach for Colorado State.
And Boise State lost 31-30. How? Yeah. Like, when you sit down and think about that as a coach, that's one of those where you go home and you're stressed and you're just like, how did we lose a game where we're up 21?
Yeah.
With less than 6 minutes left? Like, for those, once again, just go back and watch that. Just go to YouTube, pull up Boise State versus Colorado State last 8 minutes of the game.
Yeah, or
you're just going to sit there and you're going to scratch your head like, how did – not just that, they got a penalty on the onside kick to where they had to re-kick. Boise State gets the ball, drives down the field where they could almost ice it and get a big holding penalty, and then they had to punt. Colorado State gets the ball. What did we say? 40 seconds left at their own 12?
Yeah, it was like they basically went like 88 yards in like less than a minute.
Yeah, it was like
32 seconds.
Like, that's the microcosm of this season.
Yeah.
So when you think you're like looking back at the Miami game when they were like jump points at the end, and it was just like, all right. I mean, theoretically, if Miami could have scored, even if we could have got 3 on the last drive with 40-something seconds, there still was opportunity to get the onside kick.
Yeah, well, hell, think about the damn Georgia Tech loss. You guys didn't take the knee, you get the strip, and then how the hell does Georgia Tech score with go 70 yards?
Two plays.
Yeah. You think about, again, going back to the landing decision to go for it, and then you're like, oh damn, they lost, it's over, and then they get down and have a chance to kick a field goal to send overtime.
Because when the Dunze caught that touchdown, it was 1:34 left.
Yeah, there was plenty of time.
And you would think, like, Oregon's a running team. Like I said, I like Troy Franklin at wide receiver. I like Tez Johnson, and I like Bo Nix. And we're forever joking that we're waiting on Bo Nix to be Bo Nix, and he hasn't. And they were able to get down the field to get a potential tying field goal at the end of the game, and the kicker just missed it.
Yeah,
that overtime probably would have been fun. The play designs they probably would have had in that.
Like I say, that's why I'm hoping that we get that rematch, because I really would love to see it on a neutral field and all that. So we'll see what happens as that goes on for sure.
I hope it's not the Niners Stadium. Is it
it's in Vegas? Yeah,
Legion on that fast turf.
Yeah,
that place is gonna be packed out.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, we're a long way away from that, but
yeah. Sorry for going along. That's just how the season, like you say, going into the OU Texas game, we're like, OU hasn't played anyone. There's no way this Texas team's bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
They're clicking all cylinders. And then you look at Ewers, and he just looks like a man lost in the first 8 minutes of the game. It's just all about, can you get your team up week in and week out to go out there and get the W? It's like Jim Valvano said, survive in advance.
Yeah, I think the Big 12 is easier to navigate than the Pac-12. So I think OU Texas will be there. Whereas, like, we want to see Oregon, Washington, but guess what? USC could throw a monkey wrench in that. Oregon State can throw a monkey wrench in that. Even though Wazoo's out of it, they could throw a monkey wrench. No, they could easily knock them out. That might knock Washington out of the national picture, they might get bumped out of the top 4, but they could still maybe win the
Mhm.
Pac-12 to maybe get back in if they were to win against Oregon twice or whoever. So
Right.
a
I mean, you're,
loss.
you're looking at it. You're looking at it right now. Oregon has to go. They're at home against Wazoo this week. So how do they bounce back? I think they're going to beat Washington State.
Yeah.
But still, after a loss of what they just went through, how do they bounce back?
They might come out flat, and then Washington
Yeah.
State, they got their doors blown off. They might be like, we got to play. Let's go knock this team off.
Yeah.
So that's the great part about
even in Washington, you just came off a great win.
Have some letdown, maybe.
Yeah, I don't see it happening.
No, I don't either. But
the way the season's going, you can't
predict it. That's what I'm saying. It's hard to predict like what's happening with some of these teams. So, like I say,
they got Arizona State. They should beat Arizona State at home.
That should be a game they get for sure.
And then they got at Stanford, at USC. That USC one could be tricky because winning on the road seems like a tough thing to do.
Definitely. I was gonna talk about Tennessee Bama, but I don't really want to. I think Bama wins. I don't know if they cover the line, but
what is the line?
It's 9.5.
Hey, they remember last year.
Yeah. No, for sure.
The only way they stay in this game.
I think Tennessee is just not good on offense. I think Joe Milton struggles. Tennessee's definitely been able to run the ball, but I think Bama's defense, the equalizer of they can stop the run and get after Joe Milton.
They're finding ways to win. Bama's finding ways to win.
Bama definitely kind of struggled against Arkansas. I think KJ Jefferson is a good quarterback still. They were up in that game, and then they kind of let Arkansas back in. I think that was another sleepwalk game. They just played 2 really good games in the Ole Miss and the A&M game. So they probably might have taken Arkansas a little light, all that stuff. But I think Alabama's a better team. I think they're, like you said, finding ways to win. So I think they get it done. I don't know. I don't know if they cover the 10, but yeah. All right, dog. Well, let's get into the funnest part of the show. We should probably lead off the show with our rankings since they're always so controversial.
Yeah.
What's your shakeup? What's your anything big time shakeup? Obviously, Oregon lost. USC was in your top 10. Luckily, USC wasn't in my top 10 last week.
Here we go. I'm gonna start at the top because the top really hasn't changed yet. We still got Georgia. We still got Georgia getting ready to come to Duval next week. It's always a fun week in Duval, or weekend, however you want to look at it. Georgia at 1, Michigan 2. I still got the Mighty Noles at 3, Ohio State at 4. I got UW at 5, Penn State 6, OU 7. I just dropped Oregon to 8, which wasn't really that much of a drop. I got Texas 9, and I got the Tar Heels at 10.
Nice. So
what do you think? Where did I go wrong? Where did I go wrong?
You're pretty damn solid. You're pretty solid. We just got a different order, buddy. We got the same 10. How about that? Right. We got the same 10. Just mine's shuffled. I got Georgia, Michigan. I got the dub Washington Huskies at number 3, baby.
You just refuse to give that team out win.
And coming in at number 4, I got the Oklahoma Boomer Sooners. Then I got the Noles. I got the Noles checking in at the 5 spot. Then I got this week's matchup.
Man.
I got this week's matchup of Ohio State, Penn State at 6 and 7. I've got the Tar Heels at 8.
Okay.
I've got Oregon and Texas at 9 and 10. So there you go.
What? I guess this is becoming a bit. What? I
am now downgrading.
Listen,
those wins versus two pretty good wins versus 1 really good win. So I think let me get this I think that Washington's 1 win over Oregon is better, and I think that Oklahoma's 1 win over Texas is better right now.
All right, insight to our friendship. Just a little insight. One of our favorite listeners, CF, Cindy Franklin, aka Sponge's mom. I remember as kids, when we were talking about going to college, I think she beat it into your head not to do anything for Florida. Because I remember her famous words, if my son decides to go to Florida State, I am not writing the check.
Yeah, she did say that.
She did say that. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
That was many, many years ago. That was over 20-something years ago. So I think it finally got through to you that you cannot root for Florida State.
Oh, most
definitely.
definitely.
I think you've been hyping it up that I like Florida State.
I do
They're
like
gonna
them. I
win,
do like them,
this
but
and that.
I got to
But
see
how?
I got to see the whole sample size now.
What do you mean? You saw one game of OU versus Texas.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like, and I've watched them, and they
So that one
put
win,
it this way. Here's what I'll break it down for you. Go ahead. I'll let you finish your point. Then I'll
that
say something.
one win against Texas is better than anything Florida State has done this year.
I think so, because the only reason I say that is because of the impressiveness of that win, just like Washington. So here's my question to you then: if if these teams played this Saturday on a neutral field in the Rose Bowl for the college football playoff Final Four, and it was going to be Washington versus Florida State, who you taking?
Man, you know how much I like Michael Penix.
So let me hear you say Florida State on this one. Yeah, the only reason you would say Florida State is just to go against me right now. Okay, so all right,
I think
that's fine. That's
no. Hold on. Let me give you my breakdown.
All right.
What I saw Oregon do to the front of Washington, I think Florida State's front four is way better than Oregon's front four.
I would not disagree with that.
And I liked what they did on defense this weekend, where we're seeing more pressure coming from the back end a little bit more. And I think they would get enough hits on Michael Penix, because like I say, the one holdup of me always picking a Pac-12 school, and we've seen it the couple times they've been in the playoffs, how does their offensive line match up against the better Southern defensive fronts? Yeah. And I think Washington would struggle with Florida State's defensive front.
Yeah.
Now, if we said OU and Florida State, that might be a coin flip.
That was going to be my next one. And then I was even going to throw in, would you take Florida State over Oregon if somehow they played? And I still have Florida State ahead of Oregon,
I think out of those schools, I think OU would probably have a better chance of beating Florida State, just because they're more physical. They don't have to send a house on every play,
right? And
for me, the weakness of Florida State is their offensive line. They have a ton of points, but there are times where they're just not doing enough to get the run game going.
Right.
And Travis is getting hits. He's getting hit a lot. And a lot of that is self-inflicted of him running and whatnot. But I would take Florida State over the Pac-12 schools. The only way I think the Pac-12 schools is somehow they just make it a track meet.
Right.
But
would you take Florida State over Texas?
I think they could beat Texas. Right. I like Texas too.
My biggest thing right now, this is what I want to see from Florida State going forward. And the only thing that I question too is, in my opinion, they haven't played a good offense except for LSU. Like, I think that the offenses they played are struggling in the ACC, like Boston College, Syracuse, Virginia Tech.
Clemson is just not as good as they used to.
Clemson's not as good as they used to. Yeah. So my only thing is, I got reservations on how good is this defense.
But would that be
what if they played Jade Daniels like this week? The way Jade Daniels and the offense is clicking.
Yeah, but
they got him week one. They got him week one, and they completely obliterated him in that second half of that first game.
But see,
I'm not taking anything away, because I think Florida State's front is really good. Yeah. I think their backers are really good. I think their back end's really good. But we're not going to get to see it unless they play a Drake May and a Tez Walker.
Yeah.
And we're going to see it when they get to play against Van Dyke and company, because I think y'all's offense can give problems to them. But that's my only reservation right now, because I love what Jordan Travis has.
For me, it's just OU Texas is OU Texas.
Yeah.
I expect when the teams are comparable, that game could go either way.
Yeah, no, for sure.
They just hate each other.
Kind of like Oregon, Washington. They become a nice little rivalry out there.
It's a rivalry that no one definitely does. Any rivalry in the Pac-12 outside of USC, UCLA, unless you're like a big college football fan, you really don't talk. You don't talk about Oregon State, Oregon. Right. You don't talk Washington State. You don't talk about Oregon, Washington. I mean, you go back and there's so many signature moments over the years that we on the East Coast, especially in the South, don't talk about.
Yeah.
But like I said, I just feel like I think Florida State's good, and it kind of sucks that the ACC is down. But
Yeah,
I think they're
it's
good
top heavy.
enough because you think about it, like we said, I'm not a Johnny Wilson fan. You still
Right.
gotta cover Johnny Wilson. You still gotta cover Keon Coleman. And if Jaheim Bell gets rid of the drops, he has a lot of drops. Gets rid
Yeah.
of the drops, and then you still got those two backs, and you still got that front four. They're deep. Their linebackers are pretty good. Akeem Dent coming back helps that defense on the back end.
Yeah.
Like I say, the only question mark I have, the two question marks I have are the offensive line and offensive play calling.
Right.
And can Jordan Travis stay healthy for Florida State?
Yeah.
That's what I
And like
see.
I say, I think the schedule sets up for them to be able to do that. So we're gonna get we're gonna get the challenge of Miami. You know, we'll see what we can do at the end of the year in Gainesville. And then they're gonna have to play probably a Drake May. And so if
but
they
even this
run that,
weekend, we'll get to see what the offense does against a pretty
a
decent
good
defense.
Exactly. And like I say, here's my whole thing behind it. You know, I still got them right there. It's just so when
you just refuse to put them at number 3.
I know because I don't think they're the third best team in the country. You just picked.
Like you say, no. I like Michael Penix. That was just me doing the bow and arrow.
Okay, so now you're saying
State over
now you're saying FSU over Washington and Oregon. Then
that's what I said. Yeah, I did.
Okay, no, at first I thought you were saying I got Washington.
No, you were just talking about Penix, and I just had to do the bow and arrow. Like
I know
because I know you hated that every time I texted that.
No, I know because the question I said was if they played this weekend on a neutral field, who you got, Florida State or Washington?
I got Florida State.
That's okay. Well, I got Washington.
Yeah,
but I mean,
throwing it.
They're not playing. Yeah, they're not playing this weekend. So
exactly.
Guess what? All of them have to, like we say, take care of business.
It's just great conversation,
and like I say, it's all going to play itself out. All those funky, crazy scenarios I threw out, like the odds of that happening are slim. Now but I do think there's going to be several one-loss teams fighting for that last spot. You know,
but I think it is a bit at this point that you don't like Florida State and you refuse.
I mean, maybe
even if they go undefeated, I don't see you putting them in the top 3.
We'll see. That's the great part about it. You got to stay tuned. You got to stay tuned to see where I'm going to move your team, Ricky.
I hope your mom's not mad at me for putting her business out there like that.
Definitely not.
But it is true. She did say that, and I laughed.
Yeah,
and she didn't laugh when she said that, and I was like, "This lady is dead serious about she's not writing a check."
I mean, if you can't get into college, you go to Florida State. That's just what you do.
But you were paying for it on your own, though.
Yeah.
Even Big Bill was like, "Hey, he's the one that writes the checks.
You ain't going there, boy." Yeah. No. So yeah. So like I say, I like. I like. We put it this way: we both got the same teams in our 10. You know, they're kind of just reshuffled. And guess what? Again, North Carolina might shoot up there. You know, Texas might shoot back up there. Oklahoma might drop. Like that's the great part about, you know, like we just said, anything really can happen. The favorites most of the time have won this year. There hasn't been really any major upsets. We've just had some really good, high quality top 10 style matchups the last 2 weeks. So that, you know, there hasn't been that one big where like, damn, I can't believe Texas just lost to Texas Tech or something, or, you know, I can't believe Syracuse beat Florida State. Like, you know, we haven't gotten any of that. So
no.
And honestly, I don't even really see it happening. Really, I don't know where a team can really slip up until they play against basically another top caliber team. Like
this is
Penn State, Ohio State. That's not an upset. One of those teams is. Both of those teams are really good. Somebody's got to lose. You know, so
this year would have been a great year to start your 12-team playoff.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man,
it would have been fun.
Those first round matchups to get to the Final Four, you know, to the teams that all get the Final Four bye would be like tremendous. You know, what if you got let's just say, technically speaking, like right now, if I've got Florida State out of my top, they're at 5, but they're in the playoff playing against a Washington, you know, just to get to go play Michigan, you know, you're like,
and then where's that game played at? Because the argument
whoever,
the last.
Well, so here's where it would be. Let's just
the home field of the higher seed.
Yep. So
that'd be awesome to see Florida State out
have to go to
Northwest.
Right, that'd be pretty cool.
Or hell, have to go up to Michigan, or to go up to Michigan when it's snowing.
Yeah,
you know, because that's been, I think, a complaint for a lot of people the last couple of years is like, with the playoff, how does Georgia play at home where they played in Atlanta?
Yeah.
To what for the championship game and then the semifinal round in Atlanta? Yeah. That's a home game.
Yeah, the Peach Bowl was there both times. And
yeah, that's a home game for them.
Yeah, no,
but, I mean it's not their fault that they're the higher seed and they get you pretty much get to go closest to home. I mean that's just part of it.
Yep. Like I said, that's just the way it works out sometimes, dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, another big week of college football. This was a good one.
Sir.
Breaking down last week's games. Like I said, I'm looking forward to Saturday, finding out about some of these more. You continue to find out more about the teams and where they're going, what they're doing. And, so like I say, hopefully we get another big weekend of college football. And like I say, we'll holler at you next week on another edition of Talking Ball with the Boys. We got some big games next week, and we'll get on top of that next week. But appreciate y'all for tuning in, staying with us. And we'll holler at y'all
later.